Hey, hello everyone. I am Mafrihul Mutakin, and you can call me Mafri. I am a lecturer in the Division of Plant Physiology and Genetics, Department of Biology. Today, I'm so sorry that I couldn't have a chance to give you a lecture directly in the class. So please allow me to tell you a story about ethnobotany by using this video. Perhaps you are okay with that. So, the first of all, I'm going to share you one slide. So today we will learn about ethnobotany. This is the intersection of people, plants, and culture. So basically, I'm going to tell you about how local wisdom transform flora, the plants, into food, crafts, and livelihood. I'm going to explain some story related to ethnobotany that happens in Indonesia. So please bear with me. But before that, before I deliver the whole presentation, I'm going to show you a video. This is the video. Hopefully the video can be accessible, the sounds, by using this recording. So please watch it.
Endarti Rahyu, Rosalia Purba and Iksan Matunda. The ethnobotanical study in this report focuses on traditional therapeutic plants utilized by local societies in the treatment of human infections. There is a need to conduct a study to record the medicinal plants associated with indigenous knowledge in Uruk village, Indonesia. The reason for this research was to provide and protect the predecessors' knowledge connected to therapeutic plant use within the community. A variety of vegetation has made substantial contributions and remained an essential part of humanity across history. This research was performed from January to February 2018 in Uruk Indigenous Village, Bogor District, West Java, Indonesia. The main goal of this study was to document the medicinal plants that are used in the research area to cure various illnesses. This ethnobotanical knowledge was gathered with the use of semi-structural interviews, guided field walks, and observations with informants. Several species were examined using the species use value and fidelity level. Furthermore, 102 therapeutic plants, including 96 genera and 48 families, were compiled and identified. However, Zingiberaceae, 9.8%, family had the highest therapeutic plant use for several therapies in this region. The highest proportion of medicinal plants comprises herbs, 40.2%, while leaves, 69%, were the most often used parts in the formulation of traditional drugs. Meanwhile, decoctions, 47.8%, were commonly utilized as a traditional medicine preparation method. The frequently applied ethnomedicinal plant types were Centella asiatica, 1.0, while the highest fidelity level value for the management of sprue was Pterocarpus indicus. Also, indigenes in this survey community have traditional wisdom in the treatment of human diseases using these plants. Youth apathy poses a serious threat to these herbs, so it is important to increase awareness in the local communities with an emphasis on the sustainable use and maintenance of traditional knowledge and medicinal plants.
So basically, this is the author of this study. So you can later check it and put the link of this video in the presentation. So I'm going to stop share this video. So I'm going back to what do you call it? The PowerPoint. Yeah, I'm going to back to the PowerPoint and deliver it to you. Yep, hopefully the slides is okay now. And then please wait. This one, this one. I'm looking the pointer. Yep, this one. Okay. So in the previous video, this is a report of research. So some researchers looking for the plants that utilize in one village. And then they documented the whole plant that being used as therapeutic agents. This is like the plants that in the local people, they use it as medicines, natural one. So those video, that this video telling us about that. And basically, you can check the method of this kind of ethnobotanical studies. For example, in this case, that video is how the researcher coming to one village and then make a documentation of the whole plants that being used as maybe natural remedies or simple medicines for simple sickness or something like that. We collect all the data of that, and then they also doing some kind of interview with the chief of the village, for example, the important people in those village. And perhaps those people can give the researchers the more understanding about what kind of the plants that being used as therapeutic agents, what kind of diseases or sickness that can be treated by those kind of plants. And in that video, you already learned about the results. For example, how many plants that available that already being used as medicines, and also the video mentioned about the important plants that being used as the perhaps the main, what do you call it, the primary source of the whole thing of medicinal plants, something like that, and also its local wisdom. So that's how ethnobotanical studies being conducted. So here I'm going not to tell you about how this can research conducted, but I'm going to give you some stories about this ethnobotany, the intersection of people, plants, and also culture in the case of Indonesia. So perhaps you already learned about this one. So this is ethnobiology, where the ethnobotany is the part of ethnobiology. So as you can imagine that botany means plants, basically like that. So this is a branch of science coming from this ethnobiology. So basically this one focusing on the plants. Speciality of the relationship between people and plants. So what is the ethnobotany mainly studied at? It is how are plants perceived, used, and managed by different human societies. So it use human societies, different one, because we don't know. In one region, perhaps this plant can be used as this one, but in another region, it can be other utilization. So usually these ethnobotanical studies is specifically conducted in one region. For example, in previous video, it was conducted in the Uruk village in the Bogor here, near here, but I don't know where is it. And also ethnobotany asking us about what knowledge system, in this case the local wisdom, govern these interactions between people and the plants. So basically this one bridges biology, especially botany and ecology, with anthropology, study related human, cultural studies, and also linguistic. That's about ethnobotany. And the core concept is relied on decentered local wisdom. So the local wisdom is not about only all information. It is cumulative body of knowledge, practice, belief, evolving by adaptive process and handed down through generations. So basically, perhaps our ancestors found that this plant is okay to be consumed, but before that, they already conducted some kind of trial and error. Perhaps in the first case, they found these plants, they eat directly and they die. It is because they don't know this plant contains poisons, for example. But then another generation in those regions try to utilize those plants by not eating it directly, but with some kind of, for example, boiling it. And then when they try to consume it, they feel healthy. It's moved from the toxic plant into healthy plant to be consumed in this case. So this is basically just cumulative. So the knowledge is, for example, this egg seeds, this egg's leaf is poisonous. And then they try to remove the poisonous because of some kind of event that making in the past that people die or something like that. If I boil it, it becomes edible. So they practice it. And then eventually this kind of practice become belief. The plant is a gift that must be treated with respect because of its therapeutic potencies, able to treat some diseases. That's belief. Yeah, basically, this wisdom is essential for navigating and surviving in specific environment. So this one is related to specific region, specific people. That's how ethnobotanical studies about. Okay, let's move into plants in traditional Indonesian food. Yeah, basically we know that we consume plants to produce energy. There is a lot of process, we call it digestion system in our body, that when we are consuming plants and then it will be break down into small molecules and eventually they will go to the glycolysis cyclus, uh, Krebs cycles or something like that to produce energy for me to move, to talk and other things. Yeah, plants are more than just calories. They are also foundation of culinary identity, food security, and medicinal system. In this case, in Indonesia, we call it jamu. Yeah. So let's look at Indonesia. The first one, Moringa oleifera leaves, is in uh, East Nusa Tenggara. Yeah, they eat this one as highly nutritious vegetable. So we can easily find this kind of plant in those dry regions, and then people over there consume that perhaps daily, but I don't know. But also here in Java Island, you can also find this kind of Moringa oleifera leaves to be consumed in vegetable with soup, something like that. And this is another examples. So it can produce some kind of aromatic, smells good. It's especially can be eaten by Sundanese people here in West Java, for example, and Karo in Sumatra. And another one is sagu. Yeah. So basically, Indonesian people more or less let rice, but in the past, in the eastern region of Indonesia, they consume sagu. Yeah, this is the staple carbohydrates. But um, to make sagu can be edible requires complex extraction knowledge because you know the sagu is coming from the stem of the tree and then they can removing it with some technique and then they can uh, how to say making it edible by doing some kind of processes. So that's basically how we make sagu edible. This one, the wisdom of Kluak. So this is another case study. This is perfect example in this case. So this is the plant. We call it kluak in Indonesia. So basically we consume these seeds. Yeah, these seeds. And if we open the seeds, we can find this kind of black structure. Ah, these fresh seeds contains hydrogen cyanide. This is poison. Yeah. So the local wisdom is the seeds must be boiled, then buried in the ash and earth. This is for fermentation for 40 days or more. And then after the fermentation processes is finished, this process removes the toxins, sorry, the poison, and also able to deliver us if we treat it as the ingredient of the cuisines, it's savory flavor. And then we can say that the benefit of this fermentation process is toxic and useless seeds can be transformed into safe, delicious, and yeah, we can say it culturally significant food staple. So we use it in perhaps in the Central and East Java as the main ingredient of rawon. This is kind of soup made from uh, meat, usually the cow meat or something like that, and it make these kluak seeds make the soup black. So this is very unique. You need to try if you have a chance. And delicious, yes. And then how about plants in handicraft? So because we know plants contain cellulose, and in the right hand of the artisans in the past, they can manage those kind of cellulose into fiber, a good fiber, which is low cost. Basically, the process is not expensive, need low energy or something like that. And this is also sustainable compared to plastic now, for example. We basically use the plants, not only the fiber, also the timber, the wood, or something like that. We use it as shelter and also kind of the boxes storage. And here I'm going to explain to you some handicrafts traditionally produced in Indonesia and what kind of plants that being used to produce some kinds of handicrafts. So the first one is pandan. The leaves firstly dried and then split and woven into mats. For example, this one, mats. And this kind of mats can be also structured, developed into kind of bags or food containers. And this is also perhaps a famous example of rattan. Rattan vines are basis for wood renew furniture. Not only this one is only baskets. So we can build, for example, a chair by using rattan vines. No, you can find this kind of rattan vines perhaps rarely in this age, but basically some plastic chair, they are being produced mimicking the rattan. So basically looks like the rattan chairs, but this is made from plastics. That's now. And then Indonesian people in this Nusa Tenggara use lontar. Yeah, this is palm leaves. Yeah. So in the past, before the paper is coming into the Nusantara, into Indonesia, we use lontar as a paper to write it something. We don't know the rules of kingdom or just a letter of something. We use lontar. And then can be used as container, and also this is very special, this one is called sasando, yeah, sasando rote. So this part is made from lontar. This is not, yeah. And how about the knowledge of pandan weaving? So we know this one pandan are being processed can be used to produce a food container, for example. And this is the local wisdom. Yeah, people in the past know different type of pandas should be used for different purpose. For example, this one, Tectorius, can be used for making robust mats. And this one for fragrance. This is ingredient for making food. But this one is for making some kind of structure, such as mats. So the local wisdom, people in the past already know when to harvest leaves that give us the better future that can be used for making mats, for example, or for making foods. When to harvest. And also, they already know how to harvest sustainability, not killing the plant, for example, not taking the whole part of the plants, just remove it. Perhaps, for example, if this one is the uh, pandan leaves, they gather only until this part, not making this one out from the soils. And then they know about how to process that. They already know the multi-step process by softening the materials, in this case the pandan, by kind of boiling or soaking or something like that, and also drying, splitting, or make it colored. And then they can use another plants to be used as coloring agent. For example, this one is curcuma. Yeah, they know about this one. This is basically a local wisdom, but they actually didn't know what happened when the plant is being boiled. What kind of the structure chemically that changes during the boiling or soaking. They didn't know, but they know the best practices manufacturing, for example, the mats from the panda. They know. And then after they know about that, so basically we can know the benefits that by doing those kind of processes, it creates durable, waterproof, biodegradable, something like that. Yeah, this one is example of non-timber forest product. Yep, that's how we can learn from the pandan weaving. So how about the benefits of local wisdom? So what? So basically you can read this one, and the local wisdom can be linked into food security, how we can make the toxic plant into edible one, for example, and also economic resilience can be used for kind of material and can be traded with something like that. And the most important thing is that are less volatile than single crop agriculture. Single crop after harvest finish, plant again, harvest finish, and then how about the soil? They will dry. We need to add more fertilizer or something like that. Yeah. And also the another benefit of this local wisdom is this is become the library if we are talking about the medicine that can be used. Indonesia have a lot of plants, but we didn't completely explore the function of each plants, exclude only eating that. So perhaps we know that some plants are responsible to having some kind of secondary metabolites that eventually can be known and then perhaps can be used as therapeutic chemicals. We can use it in the medicine for something like that. And also by making, for example, by using our mats coming from the natural product, this is ecological sustainability. Instead of using synthetic plastic container, for example, we can use the more natural friendly container made from rattan, for example. And also you learn about the plants and perhaps some kind of sasando or something like that. And then ornaments in some cultural ethnic in Indonesia. So this is the cultural identity. This is a core part of the cultural heritage and also yeah, perhaps the plants make us socially human. So that's all. But or no, yeah, this is example of threats and the role of ethnobiology. So the local wisdom is tend to disappear because the old people that having those wisdom eventually die, but those knowledge is not inherited into their sons, for example. Yeah, this is the lack of transmission. Basically, younger generations migrate, move into cities, and prefer modern items such as plastic, and eventually those kind of traditional chair, rattan bag, or something like that is being ignored. And also we face the deforestation or the land conversion that eventually made the plants living in those region, deforested region, will disappear eventually. So if some people cannot find the plants, so the local wisdom is not cannot save that because the local wisdom sources is based on the plants itself. And also there is a threat coming from globalization, homogenization of foods and products, for example, plastic replacing wooden basket or something like that. You already know about that. And then after you learn about this one, even though you are not biologists or ethnobiologists, we can take apart. We documented it, record this knowledge, yeah, record this knowledge respectfully, yeah, before it finish. And also you can also try to validate, use scientific method, for example, to understand the why, what kind of chemical change happens during kluak fermentation or something like that. Perhaps if we know about the science behind those local wisdom, it become more sexy, and then more people will know, and then eventually this is part of the conservation effort to maintain the production of the plant, to maintain the growth of the plant in the field. Yep, the last one, if you are biologist also, please revitalize. Help communities find new markets. In this region, they produce something coming from naturally, from the local wisdom. We can help them promote their product and eventually sell it. And then the good trend of economic coming back to those kind of communities. You can help them. This is sustainable ethnobotany, basically. And how about the future? If the local wisdom is tend to disappear, what we can have? This is one job that you can do, or perhaps biologists do, or perhaps computer scientists do, AI person do. We are moving from the natural things into in silico methods by using computer, by using AI, by using machine learning or something like that, using computer. So basically, you can check this, what do you call it? You can check the publication here. I put here two publication, and then this is just the workflow, the procedures that we can gather the local wisdom and then generate it into a new knowledge. For example, let's look at the left part. So Indonesian people know about jamu. If you didn't know, please Googling it, check the AI, jamu. So this is basically the compound coming from the plants, and then it believe for example, one kind of jamu can able to treat one disease. Yeah, we have a lot of jamu here. And then by looking what kind of chemicals that contains in each plant, we can build compound library. And then we need to check the reference, which type of compound that can responsible to treat one kind of disease. And after that, a lot of AI techniques molecular encoding until drug target structure or something like that, we can formulate a candidate drug. How exactly we can do that? So this is in the red part. So efficacy means this jamu able to treat what kind of disease, what kind of sickness. This is efficacy. What kind of jamu? You can put it here. And then how about the plants? The herb that can be used to treat this kind of disease in the form of jamu. And then they collect, they sampling, they extract the metabolites. These things we call it plantomics. This is what local wisdom tell us about. So they make this machine learning or random forest generation or something like that by using AI or language model or something like that. And then eventually they can know which metabolites exactly is then to able to treat one disease. By looking these specific metabolites, we can build these candidate drugs. For example, Indonesian people, this is just example, Indonesian people use papaya leaves that already being boiled and then drink, and then the headache is disappear. So the boiled papaya leaf can make our headache disappear. But we didn't know what exactly the compound that inside the boiled papaya leaves that corresponds to the disappearance of our headache. By using this kind of approach, and then eventually one chemical, for example, or two chemical, for example, is already responsible based on many simulation, based on many AI techniques, based on many works of in the language large model, something like that. We know those two chemical. And then eventually those two can be used as candidate drugs. And then, yeah, a lot of testing, including clinical trial. And then we know that from this kind of workflow, we can extract which compound of the jamu that exactly treat one kind of diseases. From those knowledge, we're able to have making new drugs based on local wisdom of jamu. That's the future. Okay, that's all for today. Ethno botanical class, and you can explore this page to learn about ethnobiology in Indonesia. Sorry, this is in Indonesia, but you always try to you can also translate to English by using your browser. It's easy. And this is a place, Museum Nasional Sejarah Alam Indonesia. It means that this is museum about the ethnobiology. Basically, you can visit it. It's near Bogor Botanical Garden. And for the video I show you in the beginning of the class, you can click it here. Okay, thank you very much. That's all for today. Perhaps you can have some new knowledge about our Indonesian related to the ethnobotany. Thank you very much and enjoy your Indonesia.